This is a review of the Jackery Portable Power Station Explorer 500. And for all practical purposes, this is basically a lithium battery combined with an inverter inside a single box with a recharge capability. And it adds a few extras like a light on the side, a little display panel, and some USB capability. The capacity is 518 watt hours, weighs about 13.5 pounds, can be charged by a solar panel, DC or AC input. The batteries are lithium ion, and it can output 500 watts continuously, so any load that's 500 watts or less it can power. And as well, they can output 1,000 watts for a short-term peak, such as motor starts. And the original reason I bought this is for my RV so that I could power my mini fridge while we're traveling down the road, and it actually does a very good job of doing that. And I'm posting a link here if you want to look at that project to see what all I went through in getting this thing to work. And this is great for camping. I suppose it has a little more capability if you're in a tent or you're boondocking rather than being in an RV in a park, but there are still times when this may be desirable. For example, I've already mentioned that I'm powering my refrigerator when I'm going down the road. Well, let's say you have a fan, you want to power that outside and you don't have an extension cord or anything, you can just use this for that. And it does have a light, but the light is not really all that great. And in the box you'll find the unit itself along with a little accessory bag. And the accessory bag includes an automotive charger, it's an accessory outlet style, as well as an AC charger. And you can also buy a matching solar panel that will charge this, but that is a separate option. There is a display backlight, so it shows a battery, full and empty indicator with, over here on this side, this is the percent charged, which is 97%. The output, we're not running anything right now, so we're at 0 watts, and we're not charging it, so that's 0 watts as well. So to turn AC power on, it's just a matter of pushing the AC button, and you'll hear the fan come on and right back off. In the earlier models of this, the fan would come on and stay on all the time in AC power mode. However, now the fan is thermostatically controlled and it only comes on when it needs to. We also have an output for USB, and finally an output for DC, and then we have an input. Now the input connector is a little bit strange. It's a little bit of an oddball. It may be hard to find one. The output is 12 volts 10 amps, and the USBs are 5 volt 2.4 amp each. And as I said earlier, the output is 110 volts, pure sine wave, 500 watts with a 518 watt hour battery. And this will surge to 1,000 watts temporarily. And then of course on the side we have a switch for the light. The AC output of the Jackery 500 is a pure sine wave as shown here, which I recorded on my Rigel oscilloscope. And when looking at a close-up, you can see a few artifacts, and that is just the nature of the beast. But for all practical purposes, you can consider this a pure sine wave. And if you compare that to a typical modified sine wave, it's not a sine wave at all, and those flat spots are harmonic rich, and motors and transformers don't do well in that environment. So if you're going to run anything with a motor or transformer, an inverter with a pure sine wave output is highly recommended. Now if you take the 518 watt hours and divide that by 12 volts, you're going to get about 43 amp hours. And that is pretty respectable, considering that most RV batteries, the deep cycle batteries in your RV, are maybe around 80 amp hours. And by nature, the deep cycle batteries don't like to be discharged more than 50% or else it's hard on them. Lithium batteries work very well, and you can actually discharge them 100% without having to worry about damaging them like you would with a deep cycle battery. So in reality, you have maybe 40 amp hours available in the deep cycle battery in your coach, and you're getting the same in this little box. Now I've demonstrated that this thing will work with a mini fridge. However, don't expect to run a full-size residential fridge or a microwave or a coffee pot, air conditioner, or electric heater. All those things are out. You just can't run them on a power source like this because they just take too much current. So even if you went with a Jackery 1000, you're really not going to gain much. However, there are a few devices that will run on less than 1,000 watts. Our small portable coffee maker will run on 800 watts, so you could conceivably run that on the Jackery 1000, but not this 500. So just keep that in mind, and whether spending several $100s more for the 1000 is worth it or not, because even then, again, you're not going to run everything. So is this for you in a camping situation? You have to really determine what your needs are. If you're boondocking a lot, you may want to go with a 1000. If you just have an occasional need, like I do for the small portable refrigerator, then the 500 may be suitable. But these do not replace a generator, and these do not replace even 15 amp, 120 volt service. So these things do have their place. They're just not a replacement for a bona fide power source.